The old Victorian house stood on a hill overlooking the town. Its presence was both commanding and foreboding, a silent sentinel that had witnessed countless seasons change. The house, with its intricate woodwork and towering spires, was once a symbol of grandeur and prosperity. But now, it was a relic of a bygone era, shrouded in mystery and whispers. A shrouded silhouette against the moon, locals whispered tales of its haunted past, stories that sent shivers down the spines of those who dared to listen. The house seemed to come alive at night, its windows like eyes watching over the town, its shadows dancing in the moonlight. Stories of a family met with a grim end. Murder-suicide. The details were murky, lost to time, but the essence of the tragedy remained. The family, once the epitome of happiness, had been torn apart by despair and madness. Their cries of anguish were said to echo through the halls, a chilling reminder of their untimely demise. They said their despair lingered. The very walls seemed to absorb their sorrow, exuding a palpable sense of dread. Visitors often reported feeling an oppressive weight, as if the house itself was mourning the loss of its former inhabitants. Cold spots, flickering lights, and unexplained noises were common occurrences, further fueling the house's haunted reputation. A stain on the house. No one dared approach. The once manicured gardens were now overgrown with weeds, the windows shattered and boarded up. A keep-out sign hung ominously at the entrance, a stark warning to those who might be tempted to explore its dark secrets. Not anymore. Years passed, the house remained empty, a testament to tragedy. It stood as a monument to the past, a silent witness to the passage of time. The town grew and changed around it, but the house remained frozen in its own sorrowful history. Weather and time wore at its facade. The once vibrant paint had faded and chipped away, revealing the bare wood beneath. The roof sagged under the weight of neglect, and the ornate details that once adorned the exterior were now barely recognizable. Paint peeled, wood rotted, yet the stories persisted, passed down through generations. Each new generation added their own embellishments, turning the house into a legend. It became a rite of passage for the town's children to dare each other to approach the house, their imaginations running wild with tales of ghosts and ghouls, each telling adding to the legend. The house became a character in its own right, a dark and mysterious figure in the town's collective consciousness. It was a place where reality and imagination blurred, where the past and present coexisted in a delicate balance. The house on the hill, a place of sorrow, a place of fear. It stood as a reminder of the fragility of happiness and the enduring power of tragedy. And as the fog rolled in and the sun set, the house seemed to come alive once more, its shadows stretching out like fingers, reaching for the town below. Four friends, young and restless, stood at the foot of the hill. Jake, the bold one, Emily, the skeptic, Ben, the quiet observer, and Chloe, drawn to the macabre. Halloween night, a time for dares, a time to test courage. "Dare you to go up there," Jake said, a smirk playing on his lips. He pointed towards the house, a looming shadow in the night. Emily scoffed. "You don't even believe in ghosts." Ben, ever cautious, spoke low. "Maybe we shouldn't." Chloe, however, felt a thrill. "I'll go." The overgrown path was treacherous. The dense foliage seemed to close in on them, making every step a cautious endeavor. The flashlight's beam flickered, casting eerie shadows that danced on the underbrush. The night was still, save for the occasional rustle of leaves and the distant hoot of an owl. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth and decaying leaves. Thorns tore at their clothes, leaving small rips and scratches on their skin. Each snag felt like a tiny bite, a reminder of the path's hostility. The bushes seemed almost alive, reaching out with their thorny fingers to grasp at the intruders. The group pressed on, determined to reach their destination despite the obstacles. Each step was a rustle in the quiet night. The dry leaves crunched underfoot, breaking the silence with their brittle protest. The sound echoed in the stillness, amplifying their presence. It felt as if the forest was listening, aware of their every move. The darkness was oppressive, wrapping around them like a shroud. As they neared, the house seemed to loom. Its silhouette grew larger with each step, a dark monolith against the night sky. The windows, like empty eyes, stared back at them, unblinking and cold. The air grew colder, and a sense of foreboding settled over the group. The house was a relic of a bygone era, its history shrouded in mystery and whispers. Larger, more menacing. The closer they got, the more the house seemed to grow, its presence almost tangible. The walls, once painted and pristine, were now cracked and peeling, revealing the bare wood beneath. The roof sagged under the weight of years, and the entire structure seemed to groan in the wind, reaching out with decaying timbers. A chill wind blew. The wooden beams, once strong and sturdy, were now brittle and rotting. The wind whistled through the gaps, creating an eerie symphony of creaks and groans. It was as if the house itself was alive, breathing and watching, whistling through gaps in the wood. The sound was haunting, a mournful tune that sent shivers down their spines. It was a reminder of the house's age and the secrets it held. The gaps in the wood were like open wounds, exposing the house's fragile interior to the elements. Like the house was sighing. Each creak and groan was a testament to the passage of time, a reminder of the lives that had once filled its rooms. The house seemed to exhale, releasing a breath it had held for decades. The sound was both eerie and melancholic, a ghostly whisper of the past. The front door creaked open. The sound was loud in the stillness, a drawn-out groan that echoed through the night. It was as if the house was inviting them in, beckoning them to uncover its secrets. The door, heavy and weathered, swung open slowly, revealing the dark interior, as if inviting them in. Jake laughed nervously. His laughter was forced, a thin veneer over his growing fear. The house's presence was overwhelming, and the darkness inside seemed to pulse with a life of its own. Jake's laughter quickly died away, replaced by a tense silence. Emily shivered, pulling her jacket tight. Ben looked back. The cold seemed to seep into their bones, and Emily's breath came out in visible puffs. Ben's eyes darted to the path behind them, now swallowed by shadow. The way back was no longer visible, and the house was their only refuge. The path seemed to vanish, swallowed by shadow. The darkness was complete, erasing any trace of the path they had taken. It was as if the forest had closed in behind them, cutting off their escape. The only way was forward, into the unknown. Chloe, heart pounding, took the lead, stepping into the house. Her heart raced, each beat loud in her ears. The air inside was stale, filled with the scent of dust and decay. Chloe's flashlight cut through the darkness, revealing cobwebs and broken furniture. The house was a labyrinth of shadows, each corner hiding a potential threat. The group followed, their footsteps echoing in the empty halls. They were now part of the house's story, and there was no turning back. The air inside was heavy, thick with dust and the smell of decay. Moonlight filtered through boarded windows, casting long, dancing shadows. Chloe pulled out her phone. The weak light did little to pierce the gloom. A grand staircase spiraled upwards, its once polished wood now rotting and splintered. Cobwebs hung like macabre decorations, the faintest of sounds. A whisper, a sigh, Chloe couldn't tell, but it came from above. Section 5, The Whispering Walls. They ascended the stairs, each step creaking a mournful song. The air grew colder, the whispers louder, whispers that seemed to surround them, close in. "Did you hear that?" Emily whispered, her voice trembling. Jake, trying to mask his fear, chuckled. "It's just the wind." But even he sounded unsure. The whispers seemed to mock him, to grow louder, more insistent. Chloe felt a shiver crawl down her spine. Not from the cold, but from something else, something unseen. Section 6. A presence felt. The title itself sent shivers down their spines, as if the words carried a weight of their own. The air was thick with anticipation, and every creak of the old house seemed to echo louder in the silence. They reached the top of the stairs, each step creaking under their weight, as if the house itself was aware of their presence. The wood groaned, almost as if it were alive, protesting their intrusion. A long hallway stretched before them. Doors lined the walls, each one closed, as if hiding secrets. The air grew heavy, oppressive. Chloe felt a presence, watching them. The silence was deafening, broken only by their own shallow breaths. "I don't like this," Ben said, his voice barely a whisper. His words seemed to hang in the air, swallowed by the darkness that surrounded them. He could feel the weight of unseen eyes, scrutinizing their every move. His hand trembled as he reached out to touch Chloe's arm. She felt it too. The connection between them was palpable, a shared fear that bound them together in that moment. They were not alone. A sudden drop in temperature. The cold was unnatural, seeping into their bones, making them shiver uncontrollably. It was as if the very essence of the house was trying to freeze them in place. A prickling sensation on her skin, like static electricity. It was more than just a physical reaction. It was a warning, a signal that something was terribly wrong. The air was charged with an unseen energy, but there was something more. A feeling of dread. It was a deep, gnawing fear that settled in the pit of their stomachs, making it hard to breathe. Every instinct screamed at them to turn back, to flee from whatever lurked in the shadows. It wrapped around them like a shroud. The darkness was almost tangible, pressing in on them from all sides. It was as if the house itself was alive, a malevolent entity that sought to consume them. They could feel its presence, a silent observer, waiting for the right moment to strike. Section 7. Panic sets in. A door slammed shut at the end of the hallway. The sound echoed, loud and sharp, breaking the silence. Emily gasped. Jake jumped back. Ben stumbled, bumping into Chloe. She felt a surge of panic. "We need to get out of here," Emily said, her voice high with fear. She turned and ran towards the stairs, but the door at the top of the staircase was gone. In its place, a solid wall. They were trapped. Panic surged through the group. They pushed against the wall where the door should be, but it wouldn't budge, solid and unyielding. Chloe's heart pounded in her chest. Her breath came in short, sharp gasps. "Help!" Jake yelled, his voice echoing in the hallway. But the only answer was the sound of their own fear. The whispers grew louder, more insistent. They swirled around them, mocking their plight. Chloe felt a cold hand grip her arm. She screamed. They climbed out the window, scrambling down the side of the house, not stopping until they were far away. Safe, or so they thought. The house stood on the hill, silent, watching. Their experience faded to a nightmare, a story to tell. Yet, Chloe couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Days later, Chloe found an old newspaper article, a picture of the house, a caption, "Family vanishes from haunted house, no sign of forced entry, case remains unsolved." Chloe stared at the photo, her blood ran cold. There, in the window of the room they escaped from, a face, pale, watching, and a single word echoed in her mind, trapped.